You're live.
Okay, good morning and thanks for joining us. My name is Thanina Wilson. I'm the Assistant Director with the City of High Point's Community Development and Housing Department. And we appreciate you joining us this morning for the first of a series of public meetings that we're going to be having. They are citizen participation meetings. And this is part of the process as we each year prepare our annual action plan. The City of High Point is an entitlement community, which means that we receive federal block grant funds each year that we use to carry out certain activities and projects to assist the citizens of High Point. And I'm going to introduce to you Mr. Michael McNair. He is the director of our department, and he will be the one to uh, do a presentation and just give you more information about the department. First, just a few housekeeping things. If you have comments or questions, we are going to hold those until after the presentation, but you can go ahead and type those questions or comments in the chat, and those are going to be monitored by our staff. And or if you prefer to ask those questions in person or live, you can actually raise your hand at the end of the presentation, or just raise the hand if you can find that icon on the Zoom options. You can actually raise your hand, and you will be recognized and promoted to ask that question or make a comment at the end of the presentation. So we would just urge you maybe to write those questions down just so that you don't forget as Mr. McNair is going through the presentation. Okay, Mike.
Thank you, Nina. Good morning, everyone. I am not in the middle, I don't know why. Anyhow, I'll be giving you a presentation that'll do an overview of the department, the action plan, the activities that we're doing. Let me share my screen. I can pull that up. Okay. So we'll be talking about these particular areas, strengthening neighborhoods, action plan overview. We'll talk about current activities and get into meetings and events. It's a lot of information to cover, so I'm going to be moving pretty quickly, more so to demonstrate things rather than to do a deep dive into anything, because I have a lot of information to share with you. One of the things that people always ask us, has asked us over the years, is they call us up and say, what do you do? And after much thought, because they say if you can't articulate a goal in a short sentence, it's really not a goal. So we decided that looking at what we did and what our product mix was, that what we did was strengthen neighborhoods. That was our focus. And we approach it by using a variety of activities: housing, neighborhood development, homeless services, and code enforcement. We get more specifically in activities that we think are making a difference in our community. You can see this list here, and I'll touch on those a little more in depth as we go through. As Nina mentioned earlier, we have an annual action plan. We're actually starting year 2 of our 5-year consolidated plan. And our plan is available on our website if you want to go look at it. But it really focuses in on what the priorities are based on a pretty complicated analysis that we had a consultant perform for us. And so those needs that you see there are reflected in our annual plans. We have annual funding sources. As Nina mentioned, we do receive funds from HUD, the CDBG program, Community Development Block Grant, which is very flexible. We use it for a lot of different things. And then the HOME program, which is, HOME doesn't stand for anything, it's just home. It's entirely housing, that's all we can do with it. And then the city council has, for the last, I believe, 4 years or so, has allocated funds from the general fund for core city redevelopment activities. And we use those primarily for Operation Inasmuch and the Core City Homebuyer Incentive Program. We're very appreciative of that. And I often get phone calls from people asking us how we fund these things, and I say, well, our council believes in it, and they fund it for us, so we continue to do these. This slide just gives you an idea of the complexity or the diversity of funding sources that we have. Almost every one of those has their own little rules and regulations and requirements. And just wanted to show you that to give you a sensing of the variety of activities and funds that we're dealing with. And we have to constantly stay in training and stay on top of that. And by the way, this is our current actual budget. This slide just shows you the different activities that we use from that funding source. And again, we have a variety of activities. If you stop, think for a second, there's not that many of us in this department, but we get a lot of stuff going on out in the community. And we do that through a lot of partnerships with nonprofits, neighborhoods, and whatnot to help get these resources out and make a difference in the community. One of the things that we have to adhere to very closely is income guidelines. If you call us seeking assistance, one of the first questions we'll ask you is, what is your household income? And the reason we ask you that is because HUD gives these annual income limits, and these are for our area. They're not national numbers. They are income limits for the Greensboro High Point area. And so, and then we have to report the different income levels for people that we service. Generally speaking, 80% of the median in almost all of our activities, 80% of the median is the maximum family income. So again, if you family of four and your median, your income level is 52.9 or less, then you are eligible. Down at the bottom right, you'll see that table that shows fair market rents. Those are, again, out of our housing market and basically represent about the 40th percentile level of what rents are. One of the things that's useful for is if you're ever looking to move to another city, especially to another state, you can find the fair market rent in that city and that state, and as a way to gauge the housing market and how much it costs to live there, and ultimately how much you have to make to live there. So it's very useful information, and a lot of the multifamily developments that we're involved in, they have to not exceed that fair market rent. Wanted to show you here, number one, number of different agencies we interact with. But in our community capacity building function, we're working with communities. We always say you can't rebuild neighborhoods with just sticks and bricks. You have to work with the community and embrace them and make them part of the process. So we spend a lot of time, a lot of activity working in these areas, and have some time. We think we're making a pretty good dent. We're also doing code enforcement. Code enforcement has been part of our department now for, I believe, 4 years, or going on the 5th year. And that's been a crucial addition. And just wanted to put that in front of you so you kind of see a representation there. This is another slide showing, again, some of the neighborhood partners, community partners that we work with are doing different things. Some of these are public service grant recipients, some of them are housing developers. But we work with these agencies. Some of these are working with us on the COVID activities. So we work through these agencies to try to get things done. Again, there's only 17 of us, I believe, in the department. So we try to maximize the impact. This is a program which kind of wanted to shine a little light on. We've got a volunteer income tax assistance program. We've been doing it since 2006. And one of the things that kind of wanted to point out to you was the average adjusted gross income. It tells you, even though I believe for the current year, the maximum, is it, Michelle, help me out, is it 54? I don't remember that. It's in the mid 50s, but
It's
you can.
57,000, Mike. It's a household income of 57,000 or less.
Okay. But what this tells us is that the people that really need the resources are the ones that are accessing it. You can see over this period that the average AGI has been 16,662. And over the last 3 years, last 4 years, we have had more than $1 million in federal tax refunds to those households, and this service is free. So it's something we're very proud of, and we look forward to continuing for years to come. We're also, blight is a problem in High Point. We've had a lot of problems with substandard housing. I'm pleased to tell you that all of these houses are no longer there. They've been demolished. Believe it or not, that green space on the right, there's actually a house back in there. It looks like a wooded area, or was a house back there. So it's something that we are pretty stay on pretty good. Council has again made that a priority, that we reduce blight in the community. Every month we make a report to council on what our code enforcement activity is. Our activity level has been low, as you might expect, relatively historically, due to the pandemic. Typically we average total active cases in the 600 to 700 range, but because of the pandemic, that's been reduced. But you get to see the type of activities that they're involved in. Another thing in our community outreach activity, we have a neighborhood leaders council that Michelle and her team work with. One of the things that we do at the request of the neighborhoods, we'll bring out city officials to come out and talk to them. You see in the top one, it's Randy Heeman, who is a former assistant city manager, and Chief Schultz, or former Chief Schultz, in the bottom. So we get out in the community and do that. Of course, now we're not doing it in person. We're encouraging neighborhoods to meet virtually. And I believe several of them are, and neighborhood leaders are still meeting virtually. So it's a good way to help people in the community have a sensing or have a better idea of what's going on in City Hall, or how to get solutions to their issues, learning who people are, and vice versa. And it's been very successful. We'll certainly be continuing that. Another thing that we do, and this is kind of underrated. People don't necessarily understand that community gardens are a big component in helping neighborhoods communicate. In many cases, you might talk to each other out in your garden. You might not talk to them in other places. So it's been pretty successful. The city's been leasing some land to different agencies. We have a community garden assistance program where community gardens can actually get mulch and soil and things of that nature from the city. They just have to pick it up. If you're familiar with the South Side neighborhood, you know that there is a greenway that has been constructed from the park all the way up to Grimes Avenue, and there's a bridge that's been installed. This picture that you see is kind of old because it's splash page there, but there's still some things that are missing there. But there are other trails in the park that have been built that's not shown in that picture. This was more of a concept picture from years ago. Affordable housing activities. We are heavily involved in affordable housing activities, ranging from urgent repairs to housing construction to multifamily development. We provide home buyer assistance to prospective buyers. We also have a construction training program where we're partnering with an agency that has a construction training class that lasts for eight weeks. And they select about 10 people per class, and they learn how to build things. They actually build a shed, which we use for other purposes. And it's been pretty successful. The best graduates of those classes are offered opportunities with Habitat And also we have a construction training rehab program where some of those graduates are used to do repairs now to help us with our urgent repairs. Operation Inasmuch is a program we've been doing since 2016, and you've probably heard about it. We, of course, because of the pandemic, have not done one in about a year. We'll hopefully maybe in the fall we can get it cranked up back up again. But basically, that's a program where we select a neighborhood, we reach out to the homeowners, they provide it with free repairs to their homes, and we partner with volunteers and other agencies to pull it all together. Core City Home Buyer Incentive Program is designed to increase the number of home buyers in the core city, or home ownership in the core city. The objective was to attract middle income home buyers into the core city. And so what we've seen is that overall we've had about 96% of the people meeting that threshold, or the average is. This slide is actually a bit older than what I meant to use, but you get the general idea. But you can see in the map that we're seeing a lot of people moving into the core. They started on the west side and central, which is what we've expected. We want to see more home ownership in the east side of the core. This is a project that's underway in the Cedro subdivision. This is, if you go up Cedro Drive, you'll see two houses that are actually have been framed up under construction. That project is underway. We're getting a lot of demand. We've paved the street in here. And there's going to be 19 units all together. And you can see examples of the houses that will be built in there. Cable Street is a habitat. If you know where Cable Street extended from the Green to Russell side, Habitat is started working over there. This is the first house that's under construction, and there will be, we think, 15 to 16 units over there. Multifamily affordable housing, we have been very active there. These are, you've probably seen these and not realized that these were multifamily, or you know, you're multifamily, but not affordable housing. If you've been to the Walmart, neighborhood Walmart, I think you were looking at the back of Addington Ridge, which is this one over here. So it's we've been pretty fortunate with that. This is the latest one, Avondale Trace. You've seen that one out on Wendover. They have just opened. They're starting to rent up, sitting right up on the hill as you come past, I believe it's, I can't think of the name of the street, but it's right there. Say again?
Premier.
Premier, okay.
If you're
But very nice looking development. And then this is the schedule that we're following. As you can see here, this is our first citizen participation meeting. We'll have two more on the 2nd and the 9th. And we'll have a meeting with the CAC on the 25th. And on the 28th, we'll have, on the 1st, we'll have a draft plan available for public comment. HUD requires us to put the plan out for public comment so they can review it. And then we'll have a presentation to the Community Development Committee on the 6th of April. And on April 19th, we will have a public hearing before council. And then on the 3rd, we'll come back and ask council to approve it and then submit it to HUD. And I know I went pretty quick. That's actually all I have, but I was trying to get a lot of information out there pretty quickly. So I guess in order to break the ice, maybe the first question I'll ask you, maybe this is a pop quiz, maybe I'll ask you a question. What do we do? What does community development do? Now that we've, what do you think we do? Does anybody have any questions or comments? No? I see, okay, we have 18 participants. We don't have any questions or comments, suggestions. What do you think that we should be doing? If you're seeing things that, and it doesn't necessarily have to be us. Oftentimes we get feedback from communities, and even if it's something that we don't do, we will pass the information back to the appropriate department so they can act on it. So again, we would ask you, anybody have any input for us, suggestions, ideas of how we can continue to strengthen the community in our neighborhoods? We're all ears.
Mike, someone put in a chat box when you asked what do we do, and they said strengthen neighborhoods.
Was that a question or a comment?
It was just responding to your question
Oh,
as
what
to
do we
what
do?
we
Yeah.
do.
Okay. Do they have, do you have any suggestions of things that we maybe could do a better job at, or things we maybe are not reaching the right community groups or whatnot? We're always open to input because all of our programs are designed really based on our interactions with the community. We interact with the community year round. So we're constantly gathering information.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah.
This is Sophia.
Morning, Sophia.
Hey. Well, it's interesting. I'm one of your partners and glad to be in the High Point family there. But I think you do a really comprehensive job, and I think that the way you collaborate with the partners, your partner list is pretty big. I think you cover a lot of things. I don't see a lot missing.
Well, thank you. We know we can't do it by ourselves, and so that's real. I think the strength to our approach is that we can find out who can do it. As we assemble teams to try to get things done, but working with the community helps us understand what the issues are. These are not things that pop up in a report somewhere all the time. Sometimes we just have to be able to interact with the community on the ground, and they will tell us, oh, it'd be helpful if you guys could do this, or if you could point us in the right direction to do that. So thank you for that comment.
Mike, can you unshare your screen, please?
Yes, sir. Ron, do I just hit share again?
Got you. We're good.
Okay.
Mike, this is Britt Moore.
Yes, sir.
Just a comment, having worked along with you and your department for a while, I've often said through the years that we're a micro of the macro, kind of along the lines of being part of something bigger than yourself, which you refer to all of us together. I think High Point has a unique position with our history. And I think what we do on the housing and blight is very important. Part of the equation that I've always tried to look at, and maybe you can expound on from your department, although I know each department can't do everything. As we continue to make progress, you always have the negative. There's going to continue to be a demand for affordable housing. Don't know if that's one that'll ever totally be met. But part of the big challenge in my eyes over time is the position of our economy. And obviously High Point's economy is a micro of our greater national economy. With that in mind, what specifically for these houses and these folks that go into these houses, are we doing through your department, if anything, to address their where they are employment wise, where they are? I mean, I know we got the numbers,
Yeah.
but as far as that part, is there anything specific that flows through your department to those folks that hopefully propels them on to progress out of the categories that that make them qualify for that?
Thanks for that question, Brett. There's several things that we have in place. One of the things is to prepare folks for home ownership. And in that process, they learn to get better control of their finances. And I think that kind of lays a foundation for them to want to progress. We're also always on the lookout for partnerships. If somebody wants to provide some kind of training workshop or program to help people with jobs. We also work with the Housing Authority. The Housing Authority has that family self-sufficiency program that is funded pretty regularly through our public service grant. So it's not a large scale. And then on the construction training program, those guys in that class, that's a program where it's the city, North Carolina Housing and Finance, and North Carolina Home Builders Association. And in that class, as those guys are learning, they're paid a stipend while they're in there. And then when they graduate, again, after it's I believe it's a 10-week class. And after they graduate, we try to utilize the ones that have really shown promise to do work with our rehab programs. We put money in Habitat's contract to hire some of those guys to give them jobs. So it's not a large scale thing, but we're kind of laying some foundations out there. We also encourage people like Winfield, for instance, when we have our tax credits to hire some of those guys. So it's an area that we could see some improvement on, getting lower income people involved in some of the things we've kicked around the idea before. And I think the city has tried to before to provide opportunities for people who maybe have records or whatnot to actually go to work for the city. We had the program Chief Faley had, and then we had the reentry program. So we've tried at different times, different things. We haven't settled on a be-all program. This is the way to do it. But we're focused in on that financial management, financial literacy part of it to help people learn how to. Well, it's just as we tell folks, we have in our home buyer education, we basically have two avenues. Those that are ready to buy can come to an 8-hour class and then they qualify for our assistance. Those that require work, we have something that we call an individual development account. Both of those classes are run by Housing Consultants Group, Sophia, as you mentioned earlier. And in those classes, folks, they're screened, number one, to you have to be willing to participate. I believe it has to be 85% participation. Your credit score has to be high enough so that we can see success from there. You can't come in with a 399 or something. You got to have, I believe, like at least 550 or something. And if you do what the coaches are training and telling you to do, then you have to agree to save money, and they can monitor that as well. If you agree to do what they tell you to do, when you come out, you will be mortgage ready. And that's the whole idea. You'll be mortgage ready. And then they'll, as we have the down payment initiatives out there, there'll be housing products that they can go after. And And we also, I believe, in that program, we'll tell them that we'll match what you save up to $2,000 towards the purchase of a house. So it's kind of an incentive to get in, stay in, fix your credit, get your finances together. And then if you really want to buy a home, it's available to you.
Well, I appreciate that, and I knew some of it. Just thought it was worth sharing and hearing that. That's an important piece, and like I said, I don't think this is a. It's not an easy. It's not an easy fix. It's a comprehensive, ongoing, big task. I appreciate all that y'all do. I know the efforts are there and strong, and eventually, and as always, I think at some point it comes down to the individual. And like the old coach said, he said, "I can help you a lot." He said, "But if you don't have any ambition, I ain't gonna be able to help you."
But Brett, I'd also point out that we're heavily involved in the rental side too, the multifamily, and we tell actually the realtors, hey, that's where your home buyers are going to come from. Your future home buyers are going to come out of those multifamily developments where the rents are such that the person, I believe I heard one tenant say they got their life back, because their rents and the utilities were now in line with their incomes, and then they could begin to build themselves up and get ready to move to another level. And we do from time to time, we see home buyers come out of Park Terrace or come out of, Avondale or somewhere, one of the other developments that want to keep moving up.
Well, that would be great. If we can do an impetus that would help. That would not only help them in the micro situation, but that would be a great boost for our larger community for more of that to happen.
Well, if you'll recall that chart that I showed you with the fair market rents, those rents are pretty high. And a lot, it's not what they ought to be. It's just, that's what it is. It's out there. And what you see in High Point is you see a lot of people who are doubling up. We all did it when we first came out. You get a roommate because you can't afford to live by yourself. And that's just the reality of the marketplace. And so, but as you have folks that are at 50% of the median, they can't afford those rents.
Sure.
And so that's why these tax credits are important, because those rents are set to what they can afford and not to the marketplace.
Well, we're starting to see some inflation across the board. And so it's going to be, those rents are going to be harder on both ends, whether you're the owner and the upkeep that goes along with that, or you're actually paying the rent. So, but anyway, thank y'all. Took enough of your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
And Mike, according to Alicia, she put something in the chat box. She just says that VITA also provides financial resources through consumer credit counseling with our family service. So the taxpayers that we prepare their taxes for, they have a way to actually be able to look at how they can save monies that way too, to get them, in a better position. We also have in the chat from Chris Holdeman, lots of programs being implemented well. Could you give us an idea of what needs are in our community that are not met or that we're not able to meet?
Well, the big need that we can't meet is income. People have lower incomes. I always say I maybe can help reduce your utilities, I can improve the quality of your housing, but I can't put a chicken in your pot. And that's really a core issue. We probably we need to find a way, and I think we're seeing that with the Catalyst Project ultimately, just a way to bring more jobs into the city. We're thinking like with our Core City Homebuyer Incentive Program, as we build the number of people in the core city, it becomes more attractive for small businesses. You have to have that density to where it's useful for them. It also long-term will help with the seeing more grocery stores in the area, because grocery stores were looking at disposable income and looking at rooftops. So it's there are no really short-term quick solutions. It's more of an additive, longer-term, getting on the right path and building up to a critical mass. And then you start seeing things change and people decide it's in their best interest to live over here or live over there, or businesses will start coming in. If you'll kind of keep an eye on, there's a fair amount of business activity, employers coming into the core city. And, you know, housing is a key component of that. I believe the president of Habitat said that houses are where jobs sleep at night. And so there are a lot of interconnected pieces there that we're trying to play the best role that we can play, but there are some things that we just can't control. We can try to influence, but we can't make it happen. Anybody else?
And Mike, Councilman Williams made a comment. He says this platform is a good step in getting the word out. Sharing information to the community has always been a big challenge.
Yep. Yep. Thank you, Councilman Williams.
Mike, this is Councilmember Hudson.
How you doing, sir?
Good morning.
Good morning.
To echo what Councilmember Williams said, I think that the most important things you all do is create valuable housing stock in the city, as well as help people become responsible home ownership. And you do an exemplary job, and I'll echo what Councilmember Williams said. I think that that's one of the biggest challenges is simply getting the word out to the community that what you all do is help people buy houses and help people rent houses responsibly. So I think the biggest challenge is actually just communication with the community as to what you all do, because you do it very, very well.
Thank you, sir. We also focus on helping people stay in their houses. So as part of their financial training is to have the infrastructure, financial infrastructure to stay in your house.
Right. And how to improve their credit scores as well, and financial responsibility as a whole.
Yeah. Yeah. Those that go through it.
And Mike, Sophia is up. She has a question also.
Well, I don't have a question. I have a comment. I want to go back to what you were just talking about in terms of staying in their homes. One of the things we have in our contract with you, Mike, is post-purchase education. We know that it's a huge transition from being a renter to being a homeowner. Additionally, going to what Mr. Moore was talking about in terms of financial literacy, we recognize, especially in the last 2 years, the need for something else besides the IDA program in the 8-hour class. So we've added in with our current contract with you to provide COVID-19 assistance, the opportunity for people to enroll in one of our boot camps, which speaks to just credit and budgeting basics. We recognize that some people are coming to us who want to be in the IDA class and they're not quite ready for that. So instead of telling them no, we say, why don't we try this? We do the 5-week camp with them. We talk about their spending behaviors. We work with them one-on-one and prep for the IDA class. And that's going very well. We're offering it to the COVID-19 residents because they're struggling. We just want to make sure with the money that they have coming in that they're able to manage it.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up.
And there are no more questions in the chat box.
At the risk of tooting our own horn, I dare say that we have a wide range of activities that you don't see in a lot of other cities. There's some things that we do that I'm pretty sure nobody else is doing. And it's something that we try to find new ways or different ways to have an impact, to meet the needs of citizens and to improve our communities. That's something we're really focused in on and committed to. But if we, I guess if we have no more questions or no more comments, I guess.
If I may.
Yes, sir.
If I may, and I don't know how, I'm still learning Zoom, so whoever brought me in, thank you very much. I couldn't figure that part out. Just wanted to say, I think we don't as a city toot the horn enough. I've been involved in this department with y'all as a member of it's been called different variations, but the Community Development Committee. For 6 years, for a little over 6 years. And I don't think we say it enough as a city, at least on our part, that we relate the actual work that goes in from this department throughout the community. It's very impactful. I've traveled from here to the West Coast, up to Milwaukee, to different parts, and had conversations with other municipalities and even larger size cities. Does not have the scope or scale of programs that we have here in High Point. So I just think that, I don't know who, I can't see all who's on the meeting now, but really, truly cannot thank y'all enough for the work that goes in from this department. And to do so with such a small number of people, I'm telling you, you'd be amazed. And there's other municipalities and cities with three or four size the employees, and they're not accomplishing. So I'm going to toot it, and I'm going to continue to toot the horn for what we do in High Point. But thank you.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate that.
Mike, this is Britt. I got one more thing, and I had to step away for a quick call, and I came back in on the back end of Miss Crisp's comments. Sounded like she was speaking of some educational things that were going on. I didn't hear location-wise or where that was coming from. So I got one last comment or question. Are we reaching, and this covers many subjects, but are we reaching our citizens early enough? This type of discussion, or are we catching them after, well, it's never too late, but
Right.
this is the type of subjects that should be at least breached at 16, 17 years old, before they're 28 or 34.
Yeah.
Are we doing any, I don't know the current curriculum of our Guilford County schools. But can anybody on this call echo to that, that may have children currently in school? Are we doing a good enough job in civics and home economics and things I used to take? Never thought I'd need to know how to sew a button on a shirt, but I learned when I was about 16 and just used it the other week. So, are we getting to these early enough? You talk about perpetuating down the road and a process. Have we failed in this area the last 20 years of reaching early enough?
Britt, and maybe Michelle can help me on this as well. We interact with several groups that have youth programs, some that have programs from the elderly, but throughout the whole age range. We have contracts with Salvation Army with some of their after-school programs. Some of them start pretty young. We've not seen, I don't think I think we've had some programs in that 12 to 16 range before. It kind of varies from year to year because we're looking at members of the nonprofit community to sort of make those recommendations to us in the CAC. And we could probably do a better job maybe of trying to do an outreach, do a lot of informal outreach, but we're not putting ads in the paper saying we're looking for a program to develop the youth. But we do have people approach us about that. And Michelle, if you could add on to that, I know we had D Up as one group.
Yeah. Yes, Mike. And we have several organizations who deal with young kids outside, the school. And D-Up is one of those, the YWCA, the YMCA, Salvation Army, Boys and Girls Club, Big Brothers, Big Sisters. That's just a few of the organizations that have different types of curriculum that they are training and teaching those young students how to become productive citizens and how to be able to use some of those things, Councilman Moore, that you were talking about.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'll echo Chris's comments of having been some of those places with him through the years. And we do a fine job. I'm extremely proud of High Point. I don't understand why sometimes on the micro level, we get a lot of negative comments. And, are we perfect? No, but it's a special place. To your point, Michelle, you mentioned, out of school. And I think that's part of my question. Is there anyone that can speak to what is going on in the school? I mean, that should be part of what you learn inside the building. It shouldn't fall on government, and it shouldn't fall on us to have to pick up from the infancy. I mean, they should be coming out with some of this basic knowledge, and I can't speak to if they are. My kids aren't there anymore, haven't been for a while. So is there anyone on the call that can speak to inside of the schools? Is this happening?
If I may, I have had some conversations with like some of the local Principal Galls. Actually been over a year now, talking about something similar to that. When we're talking about your button on your shirt, yeah, I learned the same thing in home ec. Changed my wife's battery out because I took a little bit of auto mechanics and on and so forth. And no, that stuff isn't exactly something that's of the norm. But one thing I have found is that they are receptive. I think, and this is just a little bit of spitballing here. I think the programs that's offered here, and the partnerships that they have with the YMCA and Plus, if there's someone can just take the opportunity to share that with whatever forum that the school's willing to hold, to give them, because that's, in schools, one thing is that's kind of where you have your most captive audience when it comes to students and being in one spot. So I think the opportunity is there, but I go back to how we don't exactly have an armada of employees for this department. And I think in all fairness, they do really well. I think we can share the information with those other agencies and then have the conversation to connect the two to have an opportunity to share some of this information within the school walls.
And Councilman Moore, I have not recent graduates of Guilford County Schools, but my kids are 23 and 28, and they didn't get much of this in school. They got it from me, but the problem with that is this is what I do for a living. What about the kids who are in school whose parents are struggling financially and don't have the wherewithal to teach them how to handle money? So but to Councilman Williams' point, they are receptive. I've had some conversations with the superintendent. We did a lot of education up in Greensboro with the support staff that work there, but not much is going on, I think, in the schools. Not enough is going on.
Thank you for those comments, Sophia. Then I would like to encourage Mike, and of course, Mike, we see each other pretty regular, to see how we can create a impetus fairly quickly to be in contact with Ms. Contreras or whoever this may have to go to Raleigh, I don't know. But maybe we've gotten away from some of the fundamentals. You're not going to be very good at basketball if you can't, shoot free throws. You ain't going to be very good at football if you can't block and tackle.
Yep.
So maybe we've gotten too much into the end zone dances and forgot how we get there. So I would recommend that we try to maybe dive a little deeper into this basic curriculum and try to drive it back into schools if it's not there.
Yes, sir. We can take a look at that. You know, we also have, over the years, have had contracts with communities and schools to do things, but that's less curriculum oriented, more towards providing services to the children. But I think we do have some points of contact in the school system.
And we do, Mike, and I think communities and schools will be a good way to start because they're actually in the schools, in the Gifford County schools, and we do have contact with them. And so that would be a good way to start, is to talk to Tommy Walls, about, what's going on in the school and what they're doing in terms of the Gifford County school system.
The trick is getting, we could probably have some type of activity that's after school or after hours, I should say. I don't know if we could get the school system to let us do something during the day, but certainly there would be, I think, an opportunity to do something after hours if we had some kind of supplemental curriculum that was of interest to the community.
Okay, I wasn't going to say anything else, but I want to follow up on that, Mike. My whole point is, I can't remember. Well, I think I went to school from 8 to 3:30, whatever it was back in the day. In my opinion, this is priority enough for when our children become our adults and future leaders. This needs to be taught in the classroom while they're in school. This does not need to be an additional. We have enough trouble I did too. Kids have enough trouble staying focused and disciplined within the school hours, much less outside of it. So my hope is that the discussion will be, where are we in the curriculum currently? And if this basic fundamental stuff not being taught like it used to be, then it needs to be, because Chris Williams can't change everybody's car battery.
Yes, sir. We'll certainly take a look at that and see what we can find out. See what kind of receptivity we get.
Thank you. I'll shut up now.
Do we have any other questions or comments? I see a 1 in the chat box. Who is that? Oh, okay. Thank you, Alicia. Alicia was pointing out community schools has a grant to provide hygiene items for high school youth. So, like I said, we still have some interaction with them and some presence. So there may be a avenue for us to pursue that. It looks like we have sort of exhausted the questions and comments, and if we don't have anything to add, I thank you for participating. We'll, as you know, we're recording this meeting, so we'll capture all of your comments, and that will be included in our action plan. We have to actually document what people are saying to us, and if your schedule permits, join us at one of the other 2 meetings. We're going to have one on March the 2nd and one on March the 9th. I believe both will be at 6:30. They'll be virtual as well. Or maybe get some of your friends to join us. We look forward to seeing you, and I guess we can bring this meeting to a close. Ryan, appreciate it again, everyone.